Hello, this is I Do Damage, and welcome back to the channel. In this last Epoch video, I want to share off a mage build that goes into the Mastery Sorcerer, and wow, this build is super strong. I think I'm one of the lowest levels currently on the solo self-founded softcore leaderboard. And the rank 10 slot, I've cleared 36 waves in the arena, and wow, this build's really strong. Very good for a starter build, I would say. There's not a ton of required uniques, but there's definitely a few that'll help you out along the way. Before we go ahead and start, I want to remind everyone I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Hopefully I'll be lucky enough to catch you there sometime. Also, a special thank you to 11th Hour Games for hooking me up with some keys to hook up my amazing community with. Once I reach my Twitch goal, I'll go ahead and start one of the giveaways. But let's go ahead and start, shall we? While you're leveling up, the very first skill that you're going to get is Lightning Blast. You're going to want to use that all the way until you get Static Orb. Static Orb is going to be one of the bread and butter skills to this build. There's a node for Static Orb that actually allows you to cast the skill even though you're out of mana. This is huge because when you first get the skill, you're going to notice that it's pretty mana intensive and you can't really spam it a whole bunch, but once you get this node, that all changes. And this can become a really good filler skill that does a lot of damage. So what you're going to want to do is Static Orb, you're going to want to pick up one node in Shocking Orb. Go down, grab 2 points in Static Bolts, and that'll get you over here to Overload Casting. This will allow you to cast the skill even when you're out of mana. However, it no longer explodes. But it's crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's absolutely insane. After that, you're going to want to go over here to get one more point in Static Bolts. And this is just ramping up the damage, so you do even more damage with this skill. So then by this point, you'll have the 3 link here completed. So you can get 1 point into Relinquish, which is even more damage. It no longer pulls enemies, but it's 100% more damage. After that, go back up here, max out Static Bolts all the way. I would go a full 7 out of 7 here just to get that damage. And then you can come down here and get some Twinned Orbs for the double cast chance. This is insane because I have a 98% chance that you can see right here. So I'm always casting double orbs. Check it out. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's just you spam it and it knocks down them enemies. The next skill on our list that you're going to want to pick up is Flame Ward. Flame Ward is really good for survivability, and this is one of the newer skills, but pretty much when you use the skill, it gives you a boost of ward, which is pretty much like Energy Shield or anything like that if you've ever played like Path of Exile or any other ARPGs really. It gives you a nice boost of that ward right there, you can see, so it's really good for survival, especially in the arena. The theory behind this skill for the skill tree was to have it better so that I take less damage, gives me more reward, and makes the skill last longer. And so that's exactly what I've done so far. Again, this character is really low level. I just wanted to get this build out there. Maybe I'll make an endgame version of the build, but you know, I'm level 37 right now, so I'm pretty low level still. Which is kind of nice because these skills that I'm telling you now, there's room for your own iterations as well. Like, I don't even have a 5th skill specialized yet. So for Flame Ward, we're going to go straight into make the skill. You want it to last longer, obviously, because while it's actually up, you actually take less damage, and you have a chance to retaliate, which is less important for this build. If we were doing a Spell Blade build, maybe we would care more about the retaliation effects, but for now it's just more of that survival, trying to live through the boss fights and the mobs. So after you grab Dilation for your duration and mana efficiency, come up here to more ward, max that out. After that, you can come down here to Barrier and get even more damage reduction. So that's another 30% damage reduction. And then after that, I mean, you can really do whatever you want. There's Elemental Protection. There's, you know, like I said, maybe I'll do a more of an endgame version, but for now, this is definitely going to be a good starting point if you want to play an overpowered mage. The next skill I think you're going to come across is probably Teleport, and this skill, I haven't spec'd into it mainly because I just don't really want to yet, I guess. I think you can get a node on it to where you can get more ward when you teleport or something. But really, this is just for mobility, so at this point with your character, that's all you really need it for, is to get away from those mobs. The next skill you're going to want to specialize into is Volcanic Orb. And this one you actually don't get until you're into the Sorcerer Mastery, which you don't have to even do the Mastery quest to actually unlock this. So all you have to do is you have to spend 20 points in the Mage passive skill tree, and then you'll click Unlock Mastery skill trees, which you can now put points into your Sorcerer. And all you need to do is spend 5 points here. I did spell damage because, hey, more damage, the better, right? And then at that point, you'll unlock your Volcanic Orb here. This skill does cost a lot of mana, but it does a ton of damage, and it has a decent cooldown associated with it as well. So this is what the skill looks like. It does quite a bit of damage. At the end, I'll show the gameplay and what it looks like and all that. So for the skill tree, Volcanic Orb, here it is. The theory with Volcanic Orb was to just get it to do as much damage as possible. That's it. That's all I wanted to do with the skill. And so far, so good. I went just straight into hit damage. That's another 245% more damage on this thing. And then you have Volcanic Acceleration, which is even more hit damage. And then you can get even more hit damage down here. You lose a little bit of the shrapnel, but just that hit damage alone is far superior, especially for when you're going toe-to-toe with a boss and clearing groups of mobs. If you can get them tight enough, the shrapnel is fine. You can do with a little bit less shrapnel. And then I've gone up here into cooldown recovery speed. I'm sure there's way better nodes, since it does cost so much mana that I don't know. I went into it, like I said, I'm probably going to make tweaks later on to all this. This is just kind of like a starter build, I guess. So at this point, you're going to have your main damage abilities, which is, so the way it's going to work is you're going to open up with Volcanic Orb, and then after that, you're just going to spam your Static Orb until it's off cooldown. And then when you're in the actual arena, you're going to want to make sure you're kind of watching your mana here, and you want to use your Flame Ward every time that it's off cooldown. Just keep that ward up. Other than that, this is all it is. You're just spamming your abilities. You're waiting to get your mana back, so I'd be kiting mobs during this time. Get my ward back, do an orb, spam the static orbs. It's pretty simple. And you may have noticed I had another skill on my bar. Oh, and you have your teleport for mobility, getting away. But you may have noticed I had another skill in here, Meteor, on my bar. This is going to come later on. This is in the mastery that you get from the sorcerer. So when you actually show up into the end time after, I think it's Act 2 or 3, you come in here, you'll go up these stairs, and there's a mastery rift up here, which you can do. If you've been playing the game, you already know about this, but once you unlock the actual sorcerer mastery, you'll get this skill Meteor. And anyway, there's going to be a dude up here you talk to. Then they'll send you into this rift, and you can go do it. It's pretty simple. Just teleport through the mastery rift, and you'll get it. It's pretty easy. But once you get that Meteor, it's not very good when it first starts because it has quite a bit of wind-up time before it actually impacts. And within that time, I'm spec'd into it now, so when you first get it, it's going to take longer than that. And the mobs will actually run out of it if you're kiting them. So it's kind of hard to use. But once you unlock this skill, you'll go into your specializations. And you can get this node down here, Rapid Descent, which makes it fall faster, which is huge. You want that thing to be as close to instant as possible. My plan with Meteor is to get it to do as much damage as possible, as well as getting to fall faster. And the way you pull that off is you go straight here to Force of Impact. You can do just 1 point, and then you'll go straight into Rapid Descent. You can do a full 5 out of 5. If you go over into these nodes over here, you can get multiple Meteors to come, but the downside of that is it reduces the hit damage. So I've decided to not do that and instead focus on these crit nodes. You have Extinction here, which has the base crit chance and the large meteor chance that you can see. So I would go full 4 out of 4 there. And then come up here for Astral Cataclysm and get a full 4 out of 4 as well for that crit multiplier. And then you can even come down here for some mana efficiency if you want, which might help so you can get more volcanic orbs. You can go for stun chance. Again, this is going to leave you open to even more options. This is really just, I guess, more of a starter build. Like this note here, damage to full health enemies, so that'd be a good opener if that's kind of what you wanted to do. I personally don't like that playstyle with this build, but it could work. Larger area. There's a lot of options. And then, like I said, this last specialization slot is really up to you. I'm planning to hold out until I unlock Black Hole and see what I can do with that skill. Otherwise, you could go into your teleport here and pick up some ward, armor, different stuff like that. Anyway, I know this was this is a starter build, let's be honest. Very early build. However, I'm ranked 10 on the leaderboard, and the character's 4 hours old, and I was ranked 10 on the leaderboard, so something's working here. So for this build on the passives, you're going to do your first 20 points into Mage. This is what I did. I went Arcanist for that intelligence and elemental protection, which will help out a lot with your resistances. After that, I really like Ward, and I needed kind of a safety net. So this is reactive ward. I went a full 10 points here, so that when you drop below 70% health, you gain 100 ward. If you just do a few points, you're not going to get 100 ward, so make sure you do a full 10. And it has a 12-second cooldown, so that's enough to proc this ward, use your flame ward, and by that time you should have over 600 wards. You should be able to survive for 12 seconds. And then you also want some ward retention. This helps all of your ward, I believe. So not just the ones from reactive ward, but also the ones from your flame ward. So you definitely want that. I went 3 out of 5. You could do 5 out of 5 if you want to. But by this point, you're going to be 20 in your mage. You're going to unlock your mastery and go into your sorcerer. And this is where you're going to get your very overpowered skill, which is the volcanic orb that I talked about earlier. You're just going to want to go right here to spell damage. This is a really high damage build, so we want all the damage possible. So there you go. Brainstorm, just go 8 out of 8. Come up here and more ward. This is what I like. So whenever you cast a skill that costs at least 40 mana, you gain ward. So you can see right here, I got a little bit of ward from casting my volcanic orb, and it just keeps stacking up if I can manage to spam it. And I think Meteor would also proc that passive as well. Yeah, it does. So once you get the full 10 out of 10 there, you can come up here. I'm going full Pyromancer, and then we'll end up here for more fire penetration and a little bit of life leech. And who knows, maybe I'll make an end game build, take the whole build to 100. I think that'd be pretty cool to see this build really come together and be OP. Last thing I wanted to mention was the uniques that you can use. And this is a solo self-founded character, so I've gotten pretty darn lucky with this character. I'm using 4 uniques. One of them I found very early on in my journey, and this ring is whenever you get hit, there's a chance that you'll summon a tree. And when I first got this, I thought, well, I'm never going to get hit because I'm a ranged build and I'm going to be kiting forever. But you're going to get hit sometimes, and that's why we have the flame ward. But anyway, when you get hit and a tree actually pops up, all the enemies will rush your tree, and that'll give you time to drop down that meteor, hit them with that volcanic orb, and spam your static orbs as well. So it's actually I wouldn't say it's required. If you found a ring that had really good spell damage on it and intelligence, I would probably take that over this unique, but it definitely helps. Another one I have is this Tome of Elements. You have elemental damage, life leech, which isn't that great, and also the chill chance, shock, and ignite. I pretty much have it for the ignite chance. However, I'm sure here down the road I'll replace it with one with better stats that has intelligence and spell power. The next unique that I'm using here is the Prism Wraps. This one seems to be like a pretty common unique that you can find pretty easily. The increased elemental damage, critical strike chance, and the life leech is probably the 3 main ones, but mainly the elemental damage and the critical strike chance are the biggest part of this unique here. All the other ones help as well. This is probably the most important unique. It's, I wouldn't say required for the build, but definitely will help you out. That 66% fire damage is huge for that volcanic orb and meteor. The ignite chance, and when you kill an enemy with a fire skill, you take 4 fire damage over time for the next 2 seconds. Whatever, dude. That's nothing. Just that increased spell power. I mean, that calamity is really, really solid. And if you look here, we're sitting at 150% increased fire damage, so that's pretty huge too. You want to pay attention to that. You can even see my resistances are super, super low. I would recommend aiming typically for like a minimum of 40% resist across the board. If you can get it up to 60, even better. But look at this, and I'm ranked 10 on the leaderboard, man. This build definitely works, guys. So I'm actually going to run a timeline here and provide some commentary on the build and just kind of explain how it plays. I would say it's a pretty basic build, but here you go. You're just going to pretty much run. Like, this is my method in all of the timelines as I run to the end just to try to complete it for that key and get that completion. So we're going to use our teleport here to get away. Pop our ward just in case. I got hit once there. It kind of scared me. So you can see I procced my tree, and that's where all those mobs are running to right now, is to the tree that's up back there. So that's kind of cheesy, but hey, that ring helps a little bit, right? Make sure you're keeping an eye on your health and your ward. My health is pretty low too. That's why we got that ward. If you start to feel overwhelmed, just remember, keep that ward up. Don't forget you can teleport. Yep, you can teleport across gaps as well. That's another nice little thing with the teleport there. So here we are, we're at the forge. Let's see if we can pull this off. It's going to be close. So we're going to just get to a safe spot. We'll go ahead and drop our volcanic orb until we're pretty much. Make sure we can keep that ward up as well. We got to be aware of that. Okay, so my ward's going to be off cooldown here, so I'm just going to do a couple shock or static orbs here. Okay, ward's back. Pretty much while ward's on cooldown, you kind of want to spam it. As long as you're negative mana, you want to be spamming these static orbs, but as soon as you're about to go to positive mana, be ready to cast that volcanic orb. Just for maximum damage potential there. And here's our ward. We need to remember that. Okay, we got the boss out, it looks like. Watch his health. Watch his health. He's just going to melt right here. One more volcanic orb and a meteor. I can't get the meteor because I'm but... You honestly probably don't even really need meteor, but it's kind of nice as an opener sometimes, I guess. So there you go. That was a timeline with the volcanic orb build, I guess. I don't really know what to call this build. I'm going to call it a mage starter build. If you can think of build names, let me know down in the comments. I was thinking like fire mage or something like that, but it's not really because you have the static orb as well. But anyway, let's see what we got for loot. That's the most important part, right? Nothing too great. Anyway, I hope this build helped someone out there. If you've noticed some tweaks or changes to the build that you think might be better, or some things that I could reiterate on, please let me know. I'm going to be typing up a guide for the Patreon as well. And go ahead, share the build guide. Please don't nerf it if you're watching 11th hour games. I think this is in a really good state. Instead of nerfing this, how about you buff Sentinel, please? Make Sentinel a little stronger, you know. Those hammers are great, but man, I don't want to spam them forever. I want to use other abilities on the Sentinel. Anyway, that's for a whole nother video. If you enjoyed this video and enjoy the content on the channel, don't forget to subscribe or ring that bell to get notified when I post a new video every Monday and Friday, and sometimes some bonus videos. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.